Hey everybody, I'm back in town today. DayTraderRockStar back in the office. I almost said Day Trading Radio there. But yes, Day Trading Rockstar from Day Trading Radio back in the office on this Saturday afternoon. I just was away for the week, and I knew I had to get back into the office to start the high probability watch list. Get up there. There's so much I want to talk about. So I'm going to do a freeform watch list today, pretty much part one and part two. Part one, which we're talking right now, is just get back into the mood of trading. I've been out all week. I have been checking the stocks. I have been taking some positions off. I ended up taking my Boeing position off. I had some calls on that. It popped, and I ended up taking the... what happened yesterday? Something happened yesterday with the warrants. Oh, the Tough Bill warrants ran up yesterday, and I ended up taking those off. And this was very hard for me to post. I said, you know what? I'm gonna take them off, talking about them on the watch list. I apologize if you're waiting for alerts. It was very hard. I had bad connection. I was camping most of the time out there in Oregon. We were up in the Deschutes forest, and I had really no really good internet. I couldn't really log on. I could get some phone calls. It was very low bars and stuff, and it was just too much work. So I was just monitoring the market, checking in each day, seeing where we were at, checking my positions, and that was about it. But one thing I can tell you, I'm glad to be back here. I am very glad to be back in the office. I love trading. I love it. Even if I'm outside of the trading desk, the office here, my mind is always geared towards trading. I'm always researching. So this whole, trip out west was kind of a research project for me, and I'll share some of the observations I made, especially on the airline flights and stuff. And and like today coming home, my family's still out there, but I'm home a week early, and my observation flying back, going there, I think we took American Airlines, and coming back we took United. And American, I think it was American. I might be wrong there. The flight going out, they really social distanced the seats. It was every other seat and everything, and it was only like 80% full. They would not fill it up to capacity. Coming back, United, it was full blown. Every man for himself. And there was no social distancing or anything, and we had a full flight. We had a full flight coming back, and when I got into the airport in Denver, Colorado, the one thing that really struck me was the amount of people out there traveling. There's a lot of people out there traveling. I come into that. If you go to Denver, the Denver airport, there's a main pavilion there, and they have all the food around there, and there's what is that? Chick-fil-A? I'm messing it up because it's a southern chicken thing, but there's not many up here in New York, so I don't get to even talk about it. But they had a line there, over 50 people. I almost pulled out my phone just to photograph it, because it was a line over 50 people going around outside the building and around down into the corridor, and I'm like, holy crap! What do they put in their chicken? And who would be number 50? No way. I went back to my wife and I said, what, there's a 50. I called her and I said, there's 50 people online at Chick-fil-A. That's it. I said, who would be number 49 and 50? I mean, you got to be addicted to that stuff. I mean, the other McDonald's had maybe 7 people and stuff, but 50 people. It was incredible. So I marked that down in my brain. I said, I remember that. Even though I believe that is a privately held company. The fact is, all those food areas were they all had lines, and there was a lot of people flying. And again, split on the masks and stuff. A lot of people having that mask over their mouth and having their nose exposed. That was the biggest thing I noticed, of like, why, it's just, and some people just blatantly just didn't care and didn't wear a mask, and it just, everyone felt uncomfortable. I guess that's the society we live in, and I really got to think about it, like, wow, we're really going into this next school year, and they don't even know what they're going to do with the kids. They don't know. I mean, there's really no plan here. We're going day by day, and even out there, all I'm hearing is, 16 days in a row of 1,000 deaths due to coronavirus, and I'm like, ah. And then there was another state put on the quarantine list to come into New York. I'm like, this is just not getting better. It's not getting better. And while I was gone, and again, this video is going to be split into two parts, so I apologize. The first part is just getting back together. The second part will be separate for members only. We'll discuss the stocks in play and everything else that going into next week. So I apologize. This might be, I'm just glad to be back and kind of, doing some research and stuff. So, got home last night, 1 o'clock. Got over here. It's about 2:26 p.m. right now. I stopped off to get a Chivito steak sandwich. And I come into my office and my computers are still on. And I'm like, wow, they stayed up. They didn't blink off. Last week we had the hurricane. I lost power like 6 or 7 times. And then, I figured I'll just leave my computer on in case I want to try to, log into my computers. And I never really had an opportunity to do that and check. So this is the first time I come back in. The office is steaming hot. I shut off half of my computers, but I left my main computer on just in case I wanted to somehow check the rockbot or something. I figured the rockbot was going to fall off. I figured something was going to die, but I come in here and I see the rockbot here is like is kicking ass here. So that's got to be a topic of conversation right now. Let me see if I can actually pull this over. So I'm not, I come in and I said, wow, that thing stayed up, Of course it would stay up if I was here, but it would, it just stayed up because we had no power outages or any blips or anything or something. You always expect something. And I'm looking back here, I said, wow, nailed that divergence here, nailed the divergence, sell the divergence into the close. And I figured I'll go back and look at it with you while I'm on here. The rockbot. We'll come back to that in the second part of this video, but that was something I really enjoyed seeing, and then looking back at here and just looking at what the rockbot does is really identifying, again, I'm going into this right now, identify those divergences, which is our number one trade setup on a short-term time frame, number one short and the long-term time frames, honestly. But if you're, for the scalpers out there who want to see very fast movement in the market and be able to profit off these moves. This is a small move, and this is a small move, and that's a small move. But down here is a much bigger move, actually. And that's what we want to identify, the bigger moves, so we get a bigger profit, and we're able to, So those are where the divergences really play out, because my law on divergences is you have a divergence and you have an underlying channel, underlying meaning the chart, whatever the chart pattern is. You can see that downward channel line right there. Very easy to spot out. And, when you have a divergence and inside a recognizable pattern, 90% of the time, this divergence will lead to a breakout of the downward pattern. And if it was upward pattern or sell signal, it would be the opposite. 90% of the time. And now, remember, I've been testing this for over 10 years now. I've been trading over 25 years. But imagine that, having all that experience and stuff, and realizing there's one thing I really don't want to miss is that divergence setup. Now, of course, there could be times where you get a divergence and it pops, but it's such a slight pop that it doesn't give you your target and it falls back down. I mean, there is opportunities, but time and time again, you do not want to miss these divergences. But here's that underlying channel line right there. With the divergence and the breakout from it. And we just actually did it on a sell side divergence, was just about breaking down as the market closed out for the week. Now I could go back on this video, I could go back on here and just kind of outline. Look at this. Divergence short up here. Actually, it was very choppy because it went probably from that low to this low. Went a little bit higher before coming down. You got to watch the chop. I always recommend don't set this to auto trade unless you're standing near it and you could turn it off when there's news events. Usually every day there's some kind of news breaking on 8:30 in the morning, sometimes at 10 o'clock in the morning. So, we have these and then we have the 9:30 open, which is very volatile. Once the market gets into a rhythm, that's when we want to activate the rockbot, and the rockbot just takes control and really points out those levels, and you're able to actually, like I would say, all right, the rockbot gave us a clear divergence right here, and it did on the thing, even if you're not familiar with it. And again, a plug for I noticed the School for Stock was active during my time my vacation, and see some people looking and buying the divergence course. So I never promote it, but if you're interested in divergence trading, go to theschoolofstock.com. I have 2 courses. First, the high probability setups course, which is basically the total methodology that I trade, but then I go into detail about the divergence trading. I have all methodology about divergences. So there's a separate, really extended, and it's the perfect course for people who want to trade successfully with the divergences and understand everything about them. I mean, it's a detailed course that has so many different lessons. You can actually check it out. It's at theschoolofstock.com. I'll try to put that link in the room there, or in the description of the video, because yes, I am doing a video today, and I figured I'll convert this to a podcast also. So if you're listening to this as a podcast, well, congratulations, because I think I'll start. Lots of times I try to get that video out in a condensed form, just show you the charts, the buy triggers, and people don't have time to listen to me jibber jabber. But for those who do have time to listen, I want to send this part as a podcast. The other part, like I said, part 2, you could jump right to, which will give you the setups for next week. So anyway, let's getting back into the groove here, and just starting to look at charts. I even started looking at charts. Over in Oregon, where I was in Oregon, Bend, Oregon to be exact. But we went camping in Deschutes, Oregon, wherever that is, someplace way up there in the mountains, and it was really nice. I had my eye operation last 2 weeks ago, a week ago, and that was the only issue. I really couldn't get it wet. I couldn't go mountain swimming in the lakes and stuff. But I did go fishing a lot, and I caught these rainbow trout, which were freaking awesome, and I cooked them up, and it was like something I really was happy to do. So while I was gone, news out that Kamala Harris I was reading up on it. I was trying to catch up on all the news. Was picked the vice presidential candidate for Joe Biden. And so that's a lot of news out there. And I was just, even driving home from the airport last night, and I got home real late, like 1 o'clock. So I put on CNN on the Sirius satellite radio, just to see what was on news-wise. And it was Anderson Cooper, and he had a bunch of guests on. And they were talking about this lady who was, I think, got elected for Congress, and she was into Satan worshippers and some QAnon or something like that, this conspiracy group. And you know what, I'm way behind on all this. I'm way behind. But to waste all that time on that show, which is bad. And and I said, I'm gonna listen to this just to see, as someone who tuned in to get some local news, like what's happening in the world. Everything was about Trump and taking all the guests, everything here about Kamala Harris and Trump's view of black women and quotes from him, and it was just like there wasn't even news. There's no news anymore. It's everything is rotating around, taking Trump down on it. I'm not going into it. I don't care either way. But that was my personal observation driving home yesterday, trying to just catch up on the news. I said, I'll put on the news, see what's happening over, maybe what happened in Beirut, to follow up on that, what's going on, and any other. Nope, it was like 3 hours of just straight up bullshit. It was crazy. And the same thing, again, if I probably turned, I was going to turn to Fox, but I just, I was I was just too engrossed in everything. I was like, this is amazing. And I started getting a little nervous for the market. I said, you know what? This market is up here, and I want to go to the chart right now. And I think if we're not at all-time highs, we're very, very close to it. Probably a percent underneath it, was it? Or let's go to the weekly chart. I mean, we're very, very close. The highs here, top highs, 85, 93. So 33.93, 33.93 and change. 33.93 and change. The high was 33.87. So about 6-7 points away from all-time highs. And I don't know if we're going to get there. This is just something that I've taken as, market psychology. When everyone says, oh, we're here, we're going to break out, when everyone expects something to happen is when the market doesn't do it. All right, that is so true on this. And I some people are still not calling this a V-bottom. I mean, I don't know. All these terms and all these things and what's going to happen. But, the obvious is usually not the obvious in the market. Mark that down as a DTRS tip. So Monday's going to come up. We have probably less than 80-something days to the election. Now it starts getting serious. Now I think everyone's going to start playing hardball. They were discussing on, again on this news program, Postmaster General who was doing something that seemed like was taking Trump's side. I'm not following it to a point where I know all the facts, but I know there's a big thing about the mail-in ballots and how everyone, it seems, all the Democrats are pushing for mail-in ballots. And again, I wonder, why is there such a divide? Because we all know. I think I know. It's just going to be easier for people to vote that don't get out as much or don't feel motivated enough. Part-timers. I don't know. I am so frustrated now. I guess I'm using today to kind of vent. I am so freaking frustrated with the world because I'm scared that this is the new world, and I don't like it at all. I don't like it. I don't like this mask wearing. I don't like this disinformation. I don't like. I'm feeling like this virus vaccine is going to be nothing, and it's another scam. And now they're talking about they're going to have to do some other. Because I was thinking about these things too. How would they even know if it's working? How do you know? Do you inject? I didn't know this part about a vaccine, and I was listening to a show on it, and it was like, what was it called? One way of testing is where you make the vaccine and then you inject the virus into you and see if you get it or not. The one that's being done now with these phase 3 trials, basically they enroll thousands and thousands of people and they track them. But how do you know they come into contact? I mean, when you think about it, it's all BS. I think they're making the stuff out as they go, and I think they're backtracking now. And I don't even know, every 1,000 people are dying every day. I don't know what to think. I honestly don't know. I don't know if it's real or it's not real or the numbers skewed. Is this going to come out, years from now in a big report that this was a big, scam? Because it is happening right around the election, and it seems like it's the only way the Democrats feel they could win is to have mail-in ballots. I mean, that's what I'm feeling right now. I don't know. I'm very disappointed. I'm very frustrated. I went to the store today to stock up on some groceries because I'm here for another week as a bachelor, and I had to get my bachelor food. I had to get a case of Coke, some donuts, and some Ruffles, sour cream and onion to hold me through. And I already started seeing the shelves getting empty again. And I said, wow, there's no this there, there's no that there, there was no Alpo. Because I was going to get my dog some special cans of food, normally dry food. I was going to get him some, so sometimes we get a case. There was no Alpo there. There was a lot of no pizza. Frozen pizza wasn't there. I was like, you know what? No one's looking. I'm going to have a frozen pizza. They were gone. They were sold out. And I'm like, damn, this world is so effed. so effed if something goes wrong. I mean, because if it really went wrong, next time people are really going to panic and they're gonna stock up and they're going to hoard and stuff. One thing I did do, GNRC, and again jumping all over, I did pick up some Generac while I was out there, and I just picked up a few calls on this going out to September because I was out at the campsite, and and that's another thing. Everyone has RVs. Everyone, the camp, of course, I'm talking to everyone. So what products are going off the shelf? How are you doing this year? Oh, he's up 30% this year, and it's just. But while we were there was a kind of a truck came in. It was a trailer and it had 2 Generac generators on it. And I was like, you know what? We were in Generac such a long time ago, and we've traded it, but it was obviously, I mean, in this environment, and there's supposed to be a lot more hurricanes coming down the pipe. I just think that, Generac is going to go higher here in the next month. I mean, it held up here. It didn't really break down to the 20. I think we go higher. I mean, it's for a trade. I think we get through 180, maybe up to 188. We'll see. Just, I don't want to forget mentioning that. So I did pick up some calls on that. I'll probably update you on the HBS watch list on everything that I, was messing around with. I had thought I'd jump on my phone in the middle of the night, and I said, let me put an order in for this. I didn't even really care what, I just went out around in the money and took care of business there. So the Generac, again, my mind can't get off the markets. But I started getting a little nervous, and I said, "Oh man, I hope I just don't go back into a hornet's nest and the market just drops off." It almost feels like the possibility of a huge candle down is there. Back down to the 200 something. I don't know. It feels like we have the possibility, and I think I'm just getting a little nervous up here, and I've been kind of nervous because we're climbing this wall of worry. But now that we have the vice presidential candidate out, things are getting down and dirty. It's 80 days away. Are we going to continue to ramp up into the election, or are we going to flatline here? Or are we going to pull back? So I'm almost considered, really kind of pulling back from the market here and becoming a shorter time frame trader and not a holder of longer things. Like even that weekly or 2-week hold sometimes, and we'd have it an option play or something like that. I'm just getting a little nervous on those, and I'd rather switch over to more of a faster time frame trader, maybe even trading the options, day trading the options, and just being able to kind of get through this next few weeks and see how the market plays out. I think anything can happen at this point. There is a lot of hate out there. A lot of hate brewing. I would rather be kind of cautious here, know that there is opportunities. There's definitely opportunities out there, and just, focusing on intraday trading, getting those momentum trades. If we have breakouts or anything, things like that. Few swing trades, few trades we're waiting for that FDA news and stuff. So, there's a lot of different ways to approach this market, but right now, I'm putting it on record. I feel very uncomfortable going into next week. And I'm looking at things that I could just kind of pull back from and concentrate on the faster, more aggressive stock moves. Even so much as the, which I've been doing. The week before I left, we started trading the MES. I was just hooked up my IB account to the Rockbot, and I let it trade, and it's been doing good. So I might even continue to do that. And that's it. That's the kind of an update on where I'm feeling things are going here. We look at technically a chart here of the S&P, there's not much you could say because of the small range. And one thing you could say, there's usually a big expansion move outside of, once things get real coiled up here, you will eventually have these bigger candles. Now I see some big candles to the downside, I see a big candle to the upside, some bigger ones. But look how tight this is. It's like Monday and Tuesday, you're expecting something pretty big, unless this market goes into a coma until the election. I mean, when do we realize that that's happened? I think we realized that early this week. Early this week. I mean, I don't see the tight consolidation here lasting too long. I mean, we're right near highs. It's obvious that a lot of people are thinking, and I think I called this a month ago. I said, well, we're not going to pull back until we take out the highs during the pandemic, and people are going to be scratching their heads. And you've probably heard me say that many times. But we're up against this level. I would say that prediction has come true. We haven't broken to new highs yet, but I would say, hey, in the horseshoes and hand grenades rule book, I'm pretty close to taking out the highs here, and I'm just getting real nervous because there is another side of the story where the obvious is not so obvious in the markets. I mean, what we expect to happen doesn't always, that's what the market feeds on. To get most people out, because most people might be long expecting to break to all-time highs. Now, if we absolutely want to hold something, we have to dig deep, and that's what this next part of the watch list is going to be about, is certain stocks that if you have to hold or you feel like these are your best chance that the market is moving higher, you want to be in it. And if the market pulls back and fakes you out, you'd rather be in these stocks than out because they're not, they probably will not give back too much. These are going to be stocks that are going to be boring for a lot of people. We could start off just by saying Dollar General, which is breaking out right now. It makes a lot of sense that stocks like this, going into this point, will be defensive in nature, especially if the virus continues to, expand and that news continues to really push that. So, it's just something as easy as Dollar General with a breakout at $200, which we basically did on Friday. We pulled back a little, very near its highs. These are the stocks that maybe you want to be in. You want to take advantage, feel like this market's going higher, you feel like everything is on track. These are the type of stocks you want to be in, the Costco's of the world, COST here. After a pullback consolidation. But again, same thing. Now we have some splits announced. Didn't we get a split announcement in Tesla a few days too late? Anthony called a split on this one during the earnings, and it didn't split, and then they came out with a split, right? I believe Tesla is splitting. So amazing on that. And then we just recently had another announced split, right? Apple, was it? So this might actually start to catch on, and we might see more and more of these things happen in splits. Good splits. Speaking about reverse splits, I expected a reverse split in Intrepid Potash. So now it's already adjusted for the post split, but this was trading at about $1.31 something, and I was all over this. I said, you know what, you got to buy IPI here, and we bought it. Started moving up. It split. Now it's really starting to squeeze higher. Big volume. Looking for a follow through day. You can see that it was 1 for 10 split. So I had 4,000 shares. I have 400 shares now. So it's $12.90. I think it could run here. I think it's a nice base, and I like to see it here run. So that actually worked out great. The IPI. Go over some other ones right now. So I'm just going to the site right here. For those people out there new. Now, this is a day trading radio site. You can actually click on this, front page here. It has a lot of information on it. Has a lot of our recent videos, recent trade alerts. If you click the play button here, you get a live screen of what's going on today. And I just happened to turn it on to see if I was connected or Paul was connected. Paul's still connected overnight. He has the Bitcoin chart up, the Ethereum, maybe that's that. I can't see, my eyes so messed up, but I do recognize this, and that was that divergence. So we've talked about the divergence before on this, and I am very happy that Paul has pointed that out. Easy divergence to spot out. It was a textbook divergence, so hopefully people were able to profit off that. But that's the site right there. Again, some stuff you could look into here. Shameless plug again, Day Trading Radio. Here are all the things you get for a membership, and you can also watch it for free. But you get a lot more for a membership, and you actually get the Rockbot code if you want with a lifetime membership. Gets you the Rockbot code, which is right here. If you go to the Rockbot code, you'll see what it's all about. Different strategies it has, how to set it up, videos. It's not live market here, but a lot of great information on that page there, so check that out also. I just wanted to see what he was up to, and again, you can see that nice divergence right here he was pointing out. Good job, Paul. Good job. All right, so I usually start this up because when I log in here, and I'll log in with my password and my username, it goes to our dashboard, and our dashboard here has a lot of other stuff on it. Especially with the forum and stuff, and the live alerts, and the Rockbot. I should be trading. Normally this would he be. He would be with the Bitcoin chart down here, and I would be up here with the main ES chart. All the alerts and news and stuff, the Rockbot, everything else included on this. But I usually go here if I want to just review my trades. You could go up here to archive here, and you could see all the trades. Right now it was actually, there we go, all the trades we have taken. So I want to just go back and through these and kind of review them with you on that note here. And again, you could change this up. You have different categories, like I want to go to just trades. So there it is. And this was the watch list I sent out before I left. So let me get started on that and get that set up for you. All right, just to kind of go back on, I'm just going to review some of these. We were in the FedEx. We sold the FedEx for a nice profit. I think we made $700 on that FedEx trade. Trying to sold out $2. That was sold. FedEx sold that. All right, so net. We're actually in the net also. We sold our net. Let's take a look at net chart here. We got $1 out of that call, so times that by how many contracts you have. And this is actually not a bad pattern. I have this on my list. I actually brought a watch list in with me. Here it is, somewhere. And net is on it because of this underlying trend line. Now I like net for a longer term trade, but it was worth taking profits when stochastics tell you to take profits. It's probably worth taking an entry when the trend lines tell you to take an entry. So no position yet on this. It says OPG. We sold OPGN at 288 for 62 cents, which is a nice profit. For OPGN, I'm curious to see where it went. OPGN. Yeah. Now I missed the pop on that, and I ended up, again, lots of times these things will pop pre-market, pre-morning. What did I get out of this on? I got out of this with a profit, 62 cents. I probably could have got out with the $1.62. Early bird gets the worm, and as serious as you want to be, again, honestly, I got it at 288. 288. I mean, that's sucks for me because it's on the way up. It popped all the way to 5. I think it actually was on the way down. Next day it popped even further. So I got out at that first pop day. I came in. It's already started pulling back. I said, you know what? I'm not going to give. I already have a good gain here. I'm going to get out of it. It continued to pop the next day a little, but look where it is now at 220. So no harm, no foul. Only a profit on this one. Big profit on that one. And when I say big, we're always looking at percentages. Percentages of how the trade works out. All right, so OPAG now. Now the LVGO did not work out. I ended up buying this, and they freaking, can you believe the that merger came in. Now, I did take profits in this before the merger, which was good. I tried to scalp it here before. Didn't work out. It just expired. I was going into my vacation also. I ended up buying some PODD, which I am still holding. And let's take a look at that chart. And again, now to me, actually starting to get a little bit more conservative on really good stocks here. Now, this pulled back enough that it made me get interested in it on the pullback. That's the daily chart right here. Now, it hasn't really exploded yet. Maybe it pulls back a little, but I do like the, buying shares on this and saying, all right, I'm in this little pullback. Maybe we'll get a little pop on this. We'll see how this Nike check mark holds up on Monday. If this actually breaks a back above that 209 area, it's 202. That would be really pretty aggressive. 210, that 210 area would be a nice move back up. We probably move really back up to the 215, 217 area. But we do have a little downside grind there. So we have to see if we can get through that. I traded Trip. I only had 5 calls, 20 cents. I made $100 on it, just for a 20-cent trade on that. On some news, Mr. Land here, breaking news on that. And now that goes back to, let's take a look at Trip, because that actually goes back to, seeing all the traffic here. Oh, that's TRI, which is Thomson Reuters. TripAdvisor. We had a little pop on it. That was good enough. Well, it was probably back here. It did move higher over that week and then pulled back. Still looks good. It's kind of a base here. It's a $22 stock. I was happy to get 20 cents out of it. Probably could have got a lot more if I let it run. But it was a fast trade again. Added to my IPI. I had 4,000 shares. Now I have 400 shares. And that's working out well. We talked about that. We did sell some LVGO during the pop. We got $1.40 on that. Did a webinar. Boeing. I ended up selling my Boeing out in Oregon. It had a nice pop. I ended up selling it. It was up a lot, so I don't have the stats in front of me, but just to know I'm out of Boeing. I do like Boeing here, though. Let's talk about Boeing. Let's talk about Boeing. The Boeing pullback here. I have an old line here for some reason, and it seems to be, just chopping around that line. We pushed up, pulled back. We're kind of, again, hovering this tight consolidation sideways. Remember where this thing used to be up at 400 and something. 440 to 178. I like this to the upside. I really do. I think we can get back up to the 200 mark, no problem. So we're going to be concentrating on this one. I think this is one that we could actually concentrate on, get in and out on. I like it going into next week. I just think it's cheap down here, especially right at this level above 168. So 10-point move back. Maybe I'll call it 165, which is my line, 164.30. But yeah, between 165. 170 is really good. I mean, 178, I don't think you're giving up much on a stock like this. It's just a matter of, seeing if there's any momentum behind this to get this thing going. But overall, I think this will be a key stock to start trading again, down at this level where we could go. I mean, this thing is, again, big level up here, 200 and change. Well, that was back here, 200 in June. 200 and change, but back at all-time highs, we're talking 400 and change. All right, stochastics seem embedded up here, which is good. All right, let's continue here. So I added to my, I ended up buying some LVGO, 132, 127 in shares. I'm still holding these. I have 60 shares. And I ended up buying some Workhorse last week, or before I left, and I think that is down a little. I bought this to support some of the traders in the room, and it's not doing much. It's not doing much at all here. It's kind of just sideways. They're expecting some news out of the contract with the Postal Service, and I don't think that's going to happen until the end of the year when they go through all that. But you know what? I kind of like the setup. That's why I'm in it on shares. I didn't want to mess around with it. I figured, hey, let's give it a shot. But I don't even know if I want to hold this. A lot of stocks that people recommend, and you just get them because you're kind of like not to mention any names, but people recommend stocks to me all the time. And sometimes I said, all right, maybe I'll put a few hundred shares in here, see what happens. The majority of the time, it doesn't work out. A good example is, Workhorse hasn't worked out yet. I gotten this one handed to me multiple times with people saying they have some good information on it, and I've watched it go from, and I've traded it, and made money on it. But I could go back and say, hey, this is. I know people in this stock that at $7 expecting great things, and it's at $2, and I'm like, how do you explain that? You can never risk taking any advice from anybody. You just cannot do that. Other than you understand where it's coming from and stuff. But just as a beginner trader, out there, maybe you're trying to find your way. Don't just go for anything. Anybody says, or hype, chat boards, boiler rooms. Do a little research, understand the fundamentals, understand the reasoning behind every trade. There's a lot of stocks that will not work out, even though they say they're going, this is a slam dunk. It doesn't happen. It's not that easy. And if you know about it, then everyone knows about it. All right? Everyone knows about it. So, for people in the IBIO, I have a good trading friend who's in CODX, and I tell him, you got to sell, you got to sell, you got to sell. You got to sell all these stocks that are related to COVID, because it's all BS right now. Maybe one or two are going to rise and stay above, and kind of make something of themselves. But the majority, 90% of the majority of them, will eventually go back down. And this CODX, everyone was talking about their testing unit, and it popped. And I remember I told him, I don't think he gets the video and stuff, but I told him, I said, you need to sell in this gap up. I said, you need to sell. And I don't think he did. And I looked back yesterday, and I don't know. I just feel bad for people who don't just take profits and they expect too much. They expect too much. They expect the moon. $60, $70, $70, no problem. Yeah, all right. So it was $30. That was a pretty good call. But, $16 now, you got to take your profits. There will always be another trade coming down the pipe. There will always be another setup. There will always be another situation, disaster, something that you could profit from. Hate to say it, but this COVID here is going to burn out real fast, and people involved in it are going to get hurt. And again, it's not that I don't get involved in it. If you get something and you have a runner, you should be in and out. In and out. Good example. I think the day before I was leaving on vacation, I was listening to Fast Money or something, and I was like, trade of the day, and a guy came on with a great argument on Cisco. I was like, oh, Cisco, I know Cisco. He goes, yeah, Cisco consolidating, everything's going good, they're going to be ramping up, da-da-da-da-da. And I went on vacation. A couple days later, I was like, oh, let me check Cisco. I just decided to check it. I said, I forgot to get in it. I forgot to get in it. I said, I'll get into some Cisco. And I looked at it, and it was, whoa, it got smashed. It got smashed. So even the experts on the TV have no clue where a stock is going most of the time. I'm not saying I know where the stocks are going. I base my analysis on momentum usually, and momentum is a scientific thing that you can actually track. And it's just, think about a rolling stone picks up speed and momentum as it goes down. It's harder to stop. The whole thing about stochastics, the momentum shifting, the rocket in the air, so we know certain laws of trading that work better than others, and we know momentum. But when we go into earnings, it's a gamble. You take all that and you throw it out the window, and you just say, all right, I'm gonna gamble on this. And you have to be okay with it. It doesn't make you wrong. It doesn't make you right. It was a gamble. You can't guess what this company is going to announce, or how they're going to prepare for the future by cutting dividends, or maybe not making the favorable statements, or sandbagging their estimates.
You just don't know. So Cisco's a good example of that. I said, oh wow. I ended up looking at this a couple days ago. I said, good thing I didn't get in that. You know. Always buy a split on a strong company. Buy a split of a strong company as it goes into the split date. Apple's an example. Tesla's an example. Anytime you have a good company that announces a split, it probably has a few days of follow through, and this was it right here on Apple. Continues to move up into that split. All right, same thing is going to be on Tesla, and like I said earlier, my prediction, you're going to start seeing these things more and more. Here's Tesla, gap up, announced split, follow through. People want to be in for the split. Sell after the split, buy before the split. That's the rule here at DTR. Especially good stocks. Pretty easy trade. But not an easy price to deal with. $1,600 a share. So I understand. And again, options are not even that cheap either, when you're dealing with it. But the concept is there. So even if you want to, break down those shares and not buy buy whatever you could afford, you're probably most likely going to get upside on that. Well, back here with you. I spent the last 2 hours here doing the research for the HPS watch list. And again, even up at this level, the market pulls back. A rising tide rises most of the ships, and a sinking tide will sink a lot of the ships. So up here, if we do get a pullback, it's very hard to go against that tide. I definitely recommend, or at least what I will be doing, is going on a shorter term time frame trading going into next week, starting on Monday, but actually starting tomorrow, Sunday night, when the futures open up. I'd like to do to get back on the air with you guys. Maybe just get back, maybe do some overnight trading, see what's up. We'll switch over the stream. We'll see what the bot does and kind of pick things up from there. All right. And again, probably use the Rock bot and identify some divergences and trade a lot of futures this week, hopefully, and pick up what we can on the stocks, on momentum trades, and any opportunities to come along. I do have a list here, though. I do have a list that I am. Let me see what I got here. That I am focused on, and I will be discussing this list on the next video that I will be getting out. I want to kind of get this one out there. Like I said, put this out there in the Interverse, and then concentrate on the high probability watch list going into next week. Just to give you a couple things that will be concentrated on: Boston Scientific, Wind Resorts, GNRC, KMB, CARR, just to name a few of those. Kind of give you a little hint of what's coming up on the next video. All right, with the buy alerts. I'm looking at Bitcoin here. Bitcoin seems to be popping here a little. A little pop in Bitcoin on Paul's chart right now. So let me get this video out and you can just say I'm glad to be back with you. For those out there who are watching this, to get the HPS video, head over to DayTraderRadio.com. Try out the trial, 10-day trial, nice little 10-day trial, no credit card needed or anything. And we'll see you online, and then I'll see you on the air, and I'll see you in the markets Monday morning. Like I said, Sunday evening, futures open up. I like to get on and see what we could do. So look for me then. I'll definitely send out an alert, and we'll talk to everyone soon. It's good to be back.